Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Shameless Freedom Podcast. And today I want to talk about looping energy. And bear with me for a moment because so many of us are doing the work. We have invested in the programs. We know the importance of self-development work, self-care. We probably have a variety of different certifications. We have delved into some of the woo space. And at the same time, we also feel stuck. And I want to talk about some of the things that happen that keep us in this, I'll call stuck identity. And it begins with us first being focused on the outcome. So there's first I'm going to call it the outcome loop. So if there is a desire that you have, whether it is for your business, for your relationship with your children, no matter what it is, if something doesn't happen as expected, it is very easy for us to get disappointed, for us to feel frustrated. And when that happens once, you can move through it. However, many times we have trained ourselves that if it keeps happening over and over again, that something is wrong. And then we lean into the frustration, the disappointment, and we get, I'm going to say, stuck in that frustration loop. So we had this outcome that we were looking for. We were in frustration. And when we're not allowing the frustration and being grateful for it, we kind of stay in it and actually call in more frustration. The next piece that I want to talk about is what I refer to as the entitlement loop. Now, most people will probably not look at this and say, yes, I am going to raise my hand and say, I am entitled. And none of us think like that. However, I want you to reflect for yourself if something like this rings true for you, that you invested in the program and you expected to get a result. Seems logical, and yet at the same time, there can be this constant loop of I have invested money, I've invested time, I have done the work, I've gotten some results, but I haven't gotten the result. So it's this combination of there's this outcome, there's this frustration, and then there's this entitlement because I keep doing the work. I'm not sitting back and not doing nothing. I'm not like 95% of the people in the world who are not doing the self-care activities. I'm actually investing, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the journaling, I'm doing the meditating, all of the things. And yet, there's still this lack of what you truly desire unfolding. And then let's layer on to that, making meaning of it. So you have a desire, it doesn't happen, you get frustrated, you've continued to do it for years, you put in the work, and then we make meaning out of it and say, something is wrong with me. What did I do wrong? Why am I not there yet? And we start to then put meaning on this frustration loop and the identity of who we are and why we have not allowed ourselves to flow through and move along the path that we desire to be a part of. Well, we've just allowed ourselves right now to be in three different timeline loops that rather than allowing us to grow, it's like we're stuck here. So if you think about a timeline that starts here and goes here, you have this frustration and then you come back and you've got this entitlement and you come back and then you have this meaning and you come back. So it's these conscious loops that keep happening on top of one another. And when you're in the middle of those loops, if you don't know how to pause and how to step out of the loop, we continue to loop. Have you ever been to one of those musical things where they actually call it looping, where they'll play a song or a rhythm and record it, and they'll play it over again. And then they'll do something else, record that, and record that on top of it. That's exactly what's happening here. It's not just one loop. This is multiple loops on top of one another, which is why sometimes it feels like we're peeling multiple layers of an onion because each one of these loops has a variety of different things going on within them. Now, after we create the meaning loop, there's usually what I will call the judgment loop. How many of you have ever been there? You are attaching meaning to the identity of who you are. So first, you're putting this meaning behind it, and then you're judging yourself for it. I should have done better. I should have known this by now. I have invested thousands of dollars, or I hired a private coach. I have been doing this work. I do the work. What's wrong with me? And we add that judgment and that self-sabotage on the whole thing. And so many of us get stuck in the loops of loops when it comes to our identity. And I had a coach years ago say, your greatest power is the power to choose. And she would say, just choose different. Choose not to be frustrated. Choose not to feel entitled. Choose to not put meaning behind anything. Choose to stop judging yourself. And I can remember sitting there going, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. You can't just, with the snap of fingers, choose differently because our bodies are not feeling safe to do so. The reason that we're in the loop that we're in is because of how we have been trained and what we have been taught to focus on. And the real wisdom here comes in pausing and being present. And it's not even doing anything initially, but it is noticing and pausing. Where do you get frustrated? Where do you keep saying the same thing over and over again? I don't want to be alone. I don't know how to get into my body. I am not making enough income in my business. I'm struggling with my children. Whatever the issue is, look at it from a new lens. And I have had so many coaches in the past say, stop making meaning of things, stop being frustrated. And those words never landed with me. Like I heard them, they never landed because I didn't know how to move through it. It's one thing for someone to tell you, just let go of control. And it's another thing to allow yourself, allow your body to melt and to really, truly let go of control. And I think that this is an exercise that so many of us can do. We are looking for validation outside of us. None of us are going to claim that this is what we're doing. But in actuality, that is one of the things that we are doing is looking for that validation outside, looking for outcomes outside. If any of you have been following me for a while, when I went to Mexico last year, one of my very favorite necklaces, it was my feminine energy necklace, Moonstone, was stolen out of my checked bag. And I remember coming home and being devastated that this beautiful piece of jewelry that was part of me was stolen, was taken from me. And I did a lot of reflecting on that experience and remember feeling, wait a minute, this is a symbol of what it means to me. My value is not outside of me in a beautiful piece of jewelry. It is within me. I need to stop looking at this beautiful piece of jewelry as validation or proof that I'm embodying my feminine energy. You see, I use it as a symbol. There's nothing wrong with using things as symbols. However, if we are trying to look at something outside of us as that intrinsic value, then we are not able to anchor into that value within. And I didn't realize this at the time, but letting go of the stolen jewelry and claiming, I already know my value, my worth. I don't have to have a symbol. It's pretty, it's nice to have a reflection, but I don't need that. I already have that within me. And sometimes we need to have experiences in our lives that allow the lessons from these loops to come to fruition. Because you see, for years, I had someone say to me, you're focused on the outcome. And I never saw it. I heard the words being told to me, but I never was able to connect the dots on what the heck that really meant. And I think this happens a lot to us because our minds conceptually get the concept. We know we're not looking for our value and worth outside of us. We know not to look at outcomes. We get that in our minds, but our bodies are carrying other stories, other energy that has not allowed us to make that shift. So many times, what we need to be able to do is allow ourselves to have experiences that shift the energy so that we can move out of just the thinking and allow that to land in our nervous system, to land in our bodies so that we don't get stuck in that that loop for the longest time of I've been divorced for X number of years and I've tried and here's what's going on and I still feel alone or where is my part, whatever it might be. It's watching the words we say to ourselves as well too. How often do we say something because it's the current reality, even though we don't really want it to be? But if you say that, even in conversation with a friend or with a business coach or a partner or whatever, and you talk about it and you make meaning behind it, you are actually acting in the identity of that person who still does not have that thing that you desire. So I want to encourage you to be aware of these loops, the outcome loop, the entitlement loop, the meaning loop, and then the judgment loop. And create awareness. This is your first step. Literally just create awareness to notice. If you need to create some type of journal or evidence log, just to keep track, no judgment, but where are you noticing these things? Where are you noticing the pattern? Asking spirit for guidance on moving through these loops and how can you actually don't even ask the word how. Thank spirit for allowing you to step into a new identity, to choose a new identity where you're not stuck in frustration or disappointment. Too many people get stuck there. And if you can learn how to feel the frustration and disappointment or experience it, move through it, thank it. What is this frustration trying to teach me? Let me be curious. What is the setback here to reveal for me? As opposed to being frustrated and mad that something happened yet again. And we will be tested and continue to be in these loops as long as we continue to stay in there and ask the same types of questions. So I would encourage you to take the time to notice what are the top 3 to 5 things you say over and over again, the things that frustrate you. Write them down. And then take a look at each of these loops of do they all fit? And maybe you found a different one. Maybe there's something else there. But the thing is, it's like this rubber band. You grow, but then you go back. And you grow and then you go back. And what you want to be able to do is to break through to that other side and to not keep looping. And that all begins with presence, pausing, and I'll say asking a more curious question rather than judging yourself. One of my new phrases these days is, what kind of woman does that? Okay, you know what? Yeah, what kind of woman does do that? A woman who's curious, a woman who allows herself permission to follow her desires, to be led by desire, to not be shamed. You see, we too often live in shame. And we don't intend to start there, but we get stuck there, which is why I call this shameless freedom, because this is an opportunity for us to break free from the shackles, from the shame, and step into the fullest, most alive version of who we are. Brene Brown talks about the fact that if you don't name shame, you keep it silent. That's what makes it grow, is the silence. But when you can name it, claim it, share it, move through it, it loses its power. And you are then able to take on a new energy and new growth in your life. So I encourage you to look at the identity of who you are currently being and who you really want to be. Now, you've probably heard this hundreds of times. And when it comes to this looping, your identity is key. If you still see yourself in an old identity, what I don't know what it may be for you, if you feel like you're not good enough, that you feel like you're always alone, you don't feel like you're supported, that there's not enough money, whatever it might be, if you feel that identity, you're very likely going to stay in the same loop. So it is understanding where your identity is at in your timeline and then choosing a different identity so that you can have the different experiences show up that can allow your body to adjust to the growth and evolution of your being and your spirituality, because this is where you are going to see tons of growth in who you are. And this not only impacts how you show up in your business, in your job, this shows up in how you show up as a mom, as a friend. The people whose lives that you interact with feel it. They sense the shift in your energy and they want more of what it is that you are bringing to the table. They might not know what program it is, they just want more of what you have, creating that safe space, that open door for more growth, more evolution, more connection, more trust in self. And it all begins when we lay down the loops, when we choose our identity and who we were made to be is the beautiful, amazing woman we were each called here to be.